Hello Power Rangers fans and welcome back to Toku Topics. Next up here in my Super 7 Ultimates week for Wave 1, we have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Goldar figure. So I am pretty excited for this one. This is another villain or a big monster this time for Super 7, and this box is huge. And like looking at all the pictures of him so far, he looks really impressive. So far on the channel, we've taken a look at the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger, and then we took a look at the Mighty Morphin Yellow Ranger. And then we took a look at the Putty slash Z Putty slash so many other versions of the Putty. Can he stand? There we go. Come on, buddy. There we go. So we've already taken a look at the three of them. So the two Rangers and one of the villains in this wave. And now we have Goldar himself, one of my all-time favorite villains in Power Rangers. And I'm very, very excited to take a look at what Super 7 has for this figure. So before we open this up here, of course, huge thanks to Super 7 for sending over all of the figures from Wave 1 for the purposes of these videos. Certainly big. You can't even see the whole thing, so let's zoom out a little bit. So as you can see, thickness-wise, height-wise, and even like width-wise, everything is significantly bigger and bulkier here on Goldar, so he's definitely going to be a very menacing addition to this line, but he still follows the same sort of style here. So the logo, ages 14 plus with Super 7. Obviously it says Goldar. On the back we have all of the choking hazard stuff, don't eat any of these things, the barcode, Super 7 logo, and now let's open up this box. So all of these, as I said in all these videos, they come individually plastic wrapped in there, but I've already taken that off of these just because I wanted to look at them, even though I haven't actually opened the figures themselves yet. So let's slide this giant box out. And there he is. So let's move this cardboard box out of the way. So here is the Mighty Morphin Goldar figure box. So just like all of the other ones, it has that same green lightning design that's reminiscent of the original 90s Bandai retro packaging kind of thing. So love that color. It fits perfectly for Power Rangers figures. I think it's a great decision. Now, as the Rangers had power coins here, a big circle power coin, the villains don't have power coins, although actually this figure has power coins, which we'll get into. But it's just like they did with the Putty. They have this diamond shape with a Goldar symbol in there, and it's very reflective. Very nice. I love that quite a bit. And of course it just says Goldar, ages 14 plus with Super 7. And then on the sides, that green pattern just continues. And on the back you get the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers logo. At the top you get Ultimates. And at the bottom, all of the copyright stuff and barcode stuff and everything. So, as we've done with all of these, we have a big reveal. So without further ado, there is Goldar, looking real big, real menacing, really nice metallic paint. Wow, this one looks really good. And you get a swappable head for him. You know, we're obviously going to compare it later on in this video, but we've had two Lightning Collection versions of him, one with wings, one without wings. But neither of them swapped, had a different head, you know? They could have done a different head for him when they re-released him without the wings, but Super 7's got you covered here. They give you a swappable head, they give you the wings and the optional not having wings. You get the sword and all this other stuff, so yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one. So I know you got to be a little careful with this one. I've seen some people have some issues with this one with the hand pegs or the wing pegs or even the head peg, so you might want to warm some stuff up and everything, but we'll get to that when we actually open this here. So let's get a good close look at him when he's still in the box. That looks really good. So the sculpting is perfect. I have no problems with that. Love the power coin box. Love the badges of darkness for the Mighty Morphin Mutant Rangers. You know, accessories wise, he doesn't come with as much maybe as the Rangers or even the Putty does, but it makes up for it. Because I mean, Goldar, what else would he really need? You know, that makes sense for him. That makes sense for him. I didn't even expect there to be one. I mean, I knew there was, but I wouldn't have even thought of including a swappable head. Really, the wings are kind of the biggest things that you could do with Goldar to, you know, either have them have or not have. So that's a really good decision. We have the power bolts on the side here, just like you did on all the other ones. Ultimates continues onto the top there. And on the back, you get the nice promo shot or suit picture of Goldar from the actual show and the bio. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in on the bio here and take a look at it. So it says, Goldar is a general in Rita Repulsa's endless Putty Patrol army and the most powerful of the evil space aliens. He led the attack on Earth after Rita Repulsa's 10,000-year imprisonment, where he proved his might against the Power Rangers. Goldar shows no mercy when it comes to battling the Rangers, even proving too much for the mighty Dino Megazord at times. Goldar sports battle armor, giant wings, and wields a giant sword capable of bringing any opponents to their knees. He's a faithful servant to both Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed. So just like I said, for all of these, I think that's a really good bio. I love the gold foil there. So nice. So I love this figure a lot already. So let's go ahead and open this up here and take a look at the Super 7 Ultimates Goldar. Alright, so here is Goldar out of the box here. And we have a problem. So we do have a problem with Goldar. So there was a, I would say at this point, pretty decently widespread problem with breakage on this guy. And I'm sad to report that mine is no exception. So the wing peg has snapped on mine. So I already have it over here. It's not the little wings, but basically out of the box he comes packaged with the little, like, I guess wing niblets are the best way to describe it, the little tiny wings, right? And they come packaged like this already, you know, like that. Now there's a tiny little ball joint that these are pegged in on, which is, you know, pretty simple to remove. And as you can see, there's a broken peg sitting in the side of mine. So basically, when it comes to the wings, right here on my, what would that be, the right wing, the peg snapped pretty much instantaneously. So this is the perfect example as to why I have Silly Putty next to my review station, so I can kind of still manage with things like that, try to make things stand up. But on the wing that has not snapped, yeah, that peg is really bad. And I obviously try to be careful with these, of course, and I really feel bad after them sending me these figures that it snapped like that. But I'm trying to show it to you here the best that I can. It comes out of the box like this. So what you're already kind of doing is you already kind of have to put it in like that. So what I suggest doing is already turning it either, you know, not when it's already plugged in. So just be very careful. So because I don't want to break the other one, because it's actually pretty easy to snap the, well, it is obviously to snap the port. It's pretty easy to actually peg it in there. It's just that port is very tight, and of course I tried to warm it up a little bit too as well, which I also have a problem with the head joint. It hasn't snapped yet, but I definitely think that it could. So I have no idea how I'm going to get that peg out of there. At the same time, I'm not like super bothered by it. I mean, I would more often than not prefer to have winged Goldar as my default displayed Goldar, and I could still kind of like silly putty this thing there, and I'll try to do that for some of the pictures later on. But it's, you know, it's unfortunate for a $55 figure that it breaks, of course, you know, and I'm not like the most torn up about it, because I still think this is an excellent figure, and I'm going to try to not have that impact my thoughts on it too badly. But I will go ahead and show off. So like it is, like that's it. Actually, I don't even know how well that came across on screen. But like, look how easy it is. Like, there's barely any pressure. That's it. I had to apply like no pressure to that. But I do not want to actually move the hinge joint on there. I'm not even the most comfortable doing that. But there is one winged Goldar, so you kind of get the idea. And like I said, let's just kind of hold it up. That's what he would look like with full wings. You know, pretending that he actually does have that right now. But yeah, it's super unfortunate, and that is not something that should be happening with this figure. And like I said, I've seen that that's a reasonably widespread problem. I've seen multiple different reports of it, so just be really careful trying to swap these things. And I think is this the correct one? Actually, it might be this one to replace it with the little nubs, but I will try to remove that somehow, and then, because I at least want to be able to have both of the little nubs in there at the very least. But they do have an up and down little joint there, which is the same joint that snapped, so no side to side or anything like that. But all of that aside, the figure itself is absolutely gorgeous. So I absolutely adore this one. I'm still going to probably pick the Putty as my favorite of the four of them so far because of the breakage, and also just because of how many cool accessories that he's had. But I will kind of try to quickly here bring in everybody, so let's see if that will work size-wise. So here is the Green Ranger. So as you can see, Goldar does in fact tower over this dude, as he kind of should. It's maybe a little too tall, but there's yellow. And I guess if we kind of try to move everybody to the side, here is the Putty Patroller. So try to get a good angle there. So there is all four of the figures. I mean, the Putty just never wants to stand, but the Tyrannosaurus Dinozord, which is what we're going to take a look at next, is of course a figure, but a Zord is kind of not the biggest or the best comparison. But these are kind of the four typical like humanoid action figures for this wave here, and Goldar is easily the tallest one. Like I said, maybe a little too tall. I feel like maybe if he was maybe just a tiny like hair above like the Putty or something, I think that would be a little bit better. But I don't know. He kind of is like suffering from the Lightning Collection thing, to where I think monsters are a little too tall. Because of that, though, he will scale very, very nicely with the Lightning Collection monsters, which I'll bring in towards the end of this video when I do all my Lightning Collection comparisons. But like sculpting-wise, I think this is perfect. Like, I love the gold that they used. It's, I think, just shiny enough. They captured a very good job on his face. Very, very good job. I love the extra pieces they kind of have on his crown and everything there. The mouth looks really good. He has pretty good head articulation. Now, this one actually does kind of use that ball joint and can do some of that side-to-side, which we couldn't really do with the other figures. But speaking of just kind of the articulation in general, the arms obviously could move, but they're hindered by his shoulder pads. They can move out like that, and they can rotate there. Very nice detailing of all the little texture pattern in there. He still has a single jointed elbow, and of course you can rotate there at the hands. And I think there's also been some breakage problems with the hand swaps, but for me, it's not too terrible. It's probably the toughest of the hand swaps on these figures so far, but it's still not bad. He does have a full rotation there, and I think he doesn't have, I don't believe he has any kind of rotation like here or at that, or I don't think he has that kind of bend. I think he just has this rotation, which is perfectly fine. I don't expect there to be any other need for a Goldar to have it other ways. The armor kind of gets in the way here. It's a little bit pliable-ish, but that's kind of about as far as you're going to get there. You can move it out. Okay, move the arm out of the way. Which, did I move it out before? You can move the arm out. You can move this out. You can rotate it there a little bit. It does rotate kind of at the knee as well, but also up there at the thigh. And then you have single jointed. Is it single jointed? Yeah. Yeah, just one big single jointed knee there. And then the foot can't rotate or anything, but it can kind of swivel to the side and has that up and down hinge. So for the most part, I think that's pretty solid. Like I said, I don't think there's a joint there. It's just that it looks like it's not lined up perfectly. So it almost looks like to be kind of as straight as possible, it kind of has to be tilted to a slight angle, but for the most part, yeah, this is a very good figure. I just wish that that hadn't happened. So, and I feel really bad about it too, because, you know, since they send these figures to me to do these videos and everything, I'm trying to show off, you know, the best versions of these products, and it breaks like instantaneously, and I feel bad about that. But it is still a very, very good figure. I love the hand detailing. I mean, they even painted like the insides of the hands, which is definitely something the Lightning Collection did not do. Now, another thing the Lightning Collection did not do is give you a swappable head for Goldar. So we're going to go ahead and start with that as accessories, because his neck joint, like I said earlier, also scares me, and we're going to try to show that off as best as possible. So I already kind of heated this up a little bit before we did this video, so just be careful. Okay, so that joint feels incredibly loose, and I think what keeps happening is I think I have seen people have the neck joint break. I think what keeps happening is that it always wants to move down whenever you're trying to swap this thing. So I think what happens is people are trying to swap it, and then it moves down, and they don't realize it, and then they snap it clean off. So try your best to angle it as straight up as possible to begin, and then just very carefully take the alternate Goldar head and prop it on there. It's not going to be that difficult to prop it on there. It will kind of click in relatively easily, I think. I think I got it. And I do really like that alternate head as well. I might prefer this alternate head, to be honest. I love the open mouth there. It's going to look great with his sword and everything like that, but for the most part, I'm probably going to keep him in the kind of just the default head, but I do really like the alternate head that they have for Goldar here. It's a great addition. I almost kind of feel like maybe they should have just included a movable jaw somehow, because I am a little scared of that neck joint, and I am also, see, because like I feel like it's kind of just really easy to bend it, but I'm going to put that initial head back on. See, because like it keeps wanting to turn like completely to the side, and I do not like that at all. Like, it just feels like it's going to be something that is going to break quite easily someday, and I don't want that day to be today. So I will probably maybe never swap that head ever again, but at least I did it for the purposes of this video and you've seen it. But it's still a cool thing to include. Now, accessories wise, he also has a ton of cool accessories that you would expect Goldar to have, and also maybe that you wouldn't necessarily expect Goldar to have. But I will go ahead and start with all of his hands, which I'm trying to grab here off of camera. So you get a ton, just like all the other figures. So you get some sword holding hands and some open hands. So there's one, and then there's another one, which has some pretty good gaps for the sword. Then you get some nice, it's all tangled up in there. he's holding his own finger. There we go. You get this little split open claw hand that I really like. And you get kind of a corresponding one for that. And then you kind of just get a slightly alternate open hand, or somewhat open hand for his sword. So speaking of the sword, this thing is painted absolutely gorgeously. I absolutely love this. Down to the handle, down to the little gem down there, the whole blade. It's actually kind of sharp. So it's kind of like the power daggers. It's very similar to the power daggers actually in comparison there. So I will take, let's see, what would be the best hand for him to hold this sword? So maybe this one. Kind of just try to grip it around there. And then I think it would be easier, just for the purposes of trying not to break these as easy as possible, or as simple as possible, is that I put the accessory in his hand first, and then peg in that hand. So there's Goldar with his sword, which I really do like that. That looks very good. So I'm very happy with how that turned out. Will look great fighting the Rangers. And then except for the wings, or I guess besides the wings, he only has a couple of other accessories, but are still really, really cool. These are the kind of more obscure ones. So we'll start with these, which are 5 identical things. So I will kind of just show off that you get 5 of them. And then I will show off one of them in detail. And these are the Badges of Darkness, which are sort of the corresponding, I guess, kind of power coins that they gave to some random putties to turn into the Mighty Morphin Mutant Rangers at the end of Season 1. So it's really cool that they gave them here, because Goldar was kind of like a general, or kind of like a leader, commander, I guess maybe like the mentor of the Mighty Morphin Mutant Rangers. So really cool that we have these here. Very cool deep cuts, and you just get 5 of them, like I said. And then speaking of actual power coins, you get the power coin box that he had from Return of an Old Friend. And this is beautifully painted, beautifully detailed. I really, really like this a lot. And it has a hinge, so you can open it up, and inside are the 5 Power Rangers power coins, which are also all sculpted in there absolutely gorgeously. So you can have him hold that. I guess maybe he could kind of grip the box with this hand, possibly. Or at least he can kind of rest it there. But yeah, it's quite a cool accessory. I really do like this one. And of course, here's the comparison between both Lightning Collection versions of Goldar. So these two figures are completely identical, except for the fact that this one has a little bit different paints, and this one has the little wing nubs, while the original release from GameStop has the full-on wings. So we'll kind of just get that one out of there, because, you know, you get the points, and this one isn't even wearing his wings right now. So here is Goldar's compared. Super 7 easily wins this one here. I mean, I think there's really not much of a contest, though I think he's too big. I really do think that he's too big for any kind of meaningful comparison to certain kind of figures, because this, I think, is scaled to how Goldar should be when it comes to Lightning Collection figures, obviously. Now, when you bring in, I already showed off earlier, but when you bring in a Ranger here, even here I feel like he's kind of towering a little bit. And, like, I mean, this doesn't really work, but I feel like this, I guess it kind of works. I just don't feel like Goldar should be this tall. I don't know why I was going to move green. I was trying to keep Goldar in there. But, yeah, I don't know, like, this one I probably still will win as the better, superior Goldar. I just easily prefer the scale of this one much more. Now, if you're curious of how it compares to other Lightning Collection figures, he does scale very nicely with the monsters. So if you were looking for a Goldar that scaled nicely with Lightning Collection monsters, actually I'll keep him in the middle. Well, there you go, because Super 7 Ultimates does scale pretty nicely, and here he is next to a Ranger. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, like, obviously I don't think the Super 7 Ultimate scales well with a Lightning Collection Ranger figure, not that it's supposed to, but I think it also kind of helps point out how ridiculously scaled I think these are. I am one of the people who really don't like the Lightning Collection monster scales compared to the Lightning Collection Ranger scales, but this kind of works. So, you know, if you want to go that fits in with the scale of those, well, you do kind of have it here, especially if he had his wings on and everything right now, but it is a very impressive figure. It's going to look great on display, especially with the other villains in this line, like the Z Putties or Slash Putties or Zed or Rita or whatever it may be. These are going to look great together. And so for that, you have to have a Goldar, you know what I mean? Like, you know, having a Zed and a Rita, you've got to have one. I just think he might be a little too tall compared to everything that would kind of go around him, except for other villains that we're going to get. But it's still a pretty good figure. Alright, and with that is going to do it for my video review of the Super 7 Ultimates Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Goldar figure. So, I can recommend this one cautiously. It's one of those things to where I feel like if you're a big Goldar fan like I am, you're gonna love this thing. Like, it's definitely my favorite Goldar figure that I've ever owned, and I've only ever really owned 3 because I have both Lightning Collection versions and now this one. But that breakage thing, I mean, it really, really disappoints me. Like, it's not the end of the world because I never really would have used that in and out joint, and I can just kind of fix it with silly putty, as you're probably seeing on screen right now. I am going to try to fix it as best as possible for the pictures, but I just, it's something that I had to point out with this figure, is that it's definitely a problem. So try your best to heat things up in here and be very careful of that joint. Do not try to move it really in the peg, which is weird to say because that's kind of the point of it, but you just got to be really careful with this more than any of the other figures. Like, the other ones you had to be a little bit, not rough with to like swap arms and stuff, but you had to give it a little bit of pressure and force. This one, don't do that. So, because Goldar very much could break at the wings, he can break on the head, he can break on the hands. Thankfully, I'd say out of the 3 things that he really could break, and some people have had break on, the wings are probably the easiest and most manageable, so I guess at least it was that. But the figure is menacing, it has a great presence on the shelf, it looks beautiful with the paint, I love the accessories, I love it. I really do like this figure. It's just kind of an unfortunate kind of circumstance. But let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this figure? How did yours turn out? Did you have any of these problems? And if you did, were they worse than mine, better than mine, whatever it may be? And also, are you going to get any of the other figures in this wave, as I'm going to kind of bring in here again real quick at the end. I have already taken a look at green, yellow, and the putty. And now we have Goldar back there. So we are 4/5 of the wave done with this. The next figure review will be the final figure review in this wave, which is going to be the Tyrannosaurus Dinozord, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Huge thanks once again to Super 7 for sending me these figures for these videos, and until then, you guys can follow me on Twitter at LivingRangerKey or LightningFigPR, and I'll see you all later. To wrap up this video, I'd like to thank my $5 and above patrons: Jurassic Samurai, Maggot Alchemist, Robert Browning, Static Thunder, Brendan Overland, Maji Yellow, Redstone MCPC, Comics 1017, James Darty, Monster Rocket, John Luke, Eric Berry, Tyler Bazetsky, Matthew Thorne, Josh Landry, and Pyramidas. You can support Toku Topics for as little as $1 a month on my Patreon, link in the description below.